Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. The private sector again calls for stronger online defenses as the government deals with more problematic cyber attacks and data breaches. Let's now have an exchange with Lito Averia of the Philippine Computer Emergency Response Team. Thank you so much for joining us, Lito. This is indeed an emergency. What has gone wrong with all of these data breaches involving the likes of PhilHealth and the Philippine Statistics Authority? Is it a disaster?
It is turning out to be a disaster. Okay, with news coming out or information coming into us that some personal information has been leaked, especially after the PhilHealth attack, when the perpetrators of the Medusa released the information to the public, actually in the dark web. Okay. Similarly, we hear from the PSA also that some personal information might be leaked out.
A lot from personal information being leaked. Do we know of more breaches that are not being told to the Filipino people because these agencies don't want people to know, our kababayans to know, the hocus pocus and maybe even the corruption within their agencies?
It's quite possible that there may be other agencies under attack, but they are withholding information. You see, even in the PhilHealth attack, initially they had withheld the information from the public. Okay? So in the PSA as well, with the information is being withheld.
Your group, along with the National Association of Data Protection Officers, believes that the PhilHealth breach might have bigger consequences than the 2016 Comelec leak. What is the worst case scenario for Filipinos who are PhilHealth members?
Well, with their personal information being out in the wild, this can be used by cyber criminals, criminal elements, to perpetrate scams and fraud, on the internet, using, for example, their users' mobile phones, for example, to perpetrate scams. Earlier, we had, especially during the pandemic period, we had a spate of scams being perpetrated by criminal elements.
So how
we might go through the same.
And that is the biggest fear. This could blow out of proportion. So how is the private sector, your group, offering to help the government in solving these data breaches and ending cyber attacks once and for all?
Well, we cannot. There's no 100% guarantee, but we can make assessments of systems, find out what went wrong, where the weaknesses are, and then we can recommend solutions on how to plug the weaknesses in their systems.
And it's not just the government, but does the private sector also need assistance?
Well, typically private sector, especially the big ones, would have their own teams that could respond to data breaches. Right? They have their own emergency response teams, and they have cybersecurity practices in place, actually.
And your advice, Lito, to our kababayans who are watching us right now, who want to prepare for the impact of data breaches like PhilHealth and future cybercrime threats?
Well, for one, they can start changing the passwords if their devices, especially mobile phones, are linked to their bank accounts, for instance, or even their email accounts. They should start changing their passwords. And that's the first step. Second is to be aware of these kinds of attacks. When they receive, for example, text messages from an unknown source, especially, is to avoid responding or opening the email. If they open the email and they see links that they're not familiar with, then just don't click on the links to avoid being falling victim to phishing and eventually to your bank accounts being compromised.
Our kababayans have to continue to be vigilant amid these challenges in cybersecurity. Thank you so much for the Cyber Secure Private Sector Exchange, Philippine Computer Emergency Response Team's Lito Averia. And still ahead on The Exchange, where your business is our business. What best practices can the Philippines learn from its regional neighbors on data protection and cyber defense? Palo Alto Network joins us next on CNN Philippines. News you can trust.